Welcome, fellow Phoenixes, to the Spiritual Phoenix Podcast, where we make a daily offering to the divine by putting our past on the pyre, searching the smoke for spirituality, turning the ashes into art, adapting isolation into connection, and manifesting mental wellness. I'm a spiritual arsonist named Ross Cessna, and I wish to ignite the authentic expression of your soul into any avenue that elevates consciousness. I don't want to tell you what to think, but to get you to think and originally articulate yourself in a way that is uplifting. We are the artists of our lives, and today is a blank canvas. Let's collectively create a better tomorrow. And now I'd like to take a moment and focus on what we're grateful for. Today, I'm grateful to have enough foresight to realize some of the things that I want right now and that I want to do aren't really what's best for me. I'll get into a couple quotes and then I'll go from there. It's not the daily increase, but daily decrease. Hack away at the unessential. That was said by Bruce Lee. We must be willing to let go of the life we have planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. And that was said by E.M. Forster. Some of us think holding on makes us strong, but sometimes it is letting go. And that was said by Herman Hesse. In my experience, there's lots of things that I've wanted, and those things that I've wanted really have proven not to be good for me, whether it was wanting to use, wanting to drink, wanting to pursue certain romantic relationships, wanting certain positions in employment or whatnot. And the thing I realize is a lot of the times that I really want something badly, it necessarily isn't what I should be getting. Many times when I'm a little bit fearful of something and I'm a little bit apprehensive about it, originally it should be what I'm going for. There's a couple things that I'm gonna have to let go out of my life coming up, because the more that I think about it, they aren't really what's aligned with where I'm trying to go with everything. And there was a time when I would be very upset and worried about this and concerned about it, but at the end of the day, my mental health and my well-being and all of those things are ultimately what's important to me. And if I can make a little bit of money doing something that's going to potentially be detrimental to my health, I have to let go of that. Or if I can potentially help some people, but it's at a greater risk to my own well-being, I have to let go of that too. And it's not that I don't want to help people, but one of my biggest Achilles heels is sometimes wanting to do too much and agreeing to do more than I really can, and then not taking really what I need in order to, or not getting what I need in order to have it be mutually beneficial for me. And I think that other people can really relate to that too. I have been selfish when I was in addiction, but I was also sometimes a little bit too giving and a little bit too go with the flow and not enough defining myself. So as I progress forward, granted, there's times when what I want is what's good for me too. But as I move forward, I need to evaluate circumstances more so. And it's difficult for me to consciously try to be selfish. Lots of times when I was in active addiction or mentally unhealthy, I would unconsciously be selfish. I'm trying to be selfishly selfless. And the way that I can be best to people is by making myself a priority, which I'm learning to do in a healthy way. And part of that healthy way is when situations come up, rather than fighting them to try to get my way, rather than trying to manipulate them into how I think they should be. Sometimes it's just a matter of letting go, and that's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of saying, I'm not going to be able to do this in a way that's going to be beneficial to me or other people. Because if I become stressed or bogged down by it, then it limits my ability to handle those things effectively. And some people's perspective might be, well, you should toughen up. You should put yourself through that. I think that that's a foolish thing to do if I'm already admitting that it's not the best situation for me. I definitely do put myself in situations where I grow from them and I do toughen up. But sometimes it's also a matter of saying, no, I don't need to do that. So it's just a curious place. And I mean, this applies in romantic relationships, friendships, jobs, almost anything you can think of. There's some things that you're going to want that aren't good for you. And for me personally, I have to evaluate my choices, big or small, sometimes, to say, is this really what's going to progress me to where I think I should be? And if it's not going to, and it becomes, what purpose is this serving? There's times in romantic relationships where I would pursue somebody and I would look at all these other things about them. Well, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like this. And it's like, but I still wanted to be with them. And granted, I have some issues that I'm working through, but that still applies to other situations. Like, what kind of ego boost do I get from doing this situation? What am I gaining? Am I actually following what I perceive as my personal code of ethics? Is this progressing me as I perceive that it should? And I don't have a definitive checklist for how to do that, because I think that in the essence of being fluid, you kind of have to evaluate those things as you go, because there's going to be different questions for different situations. But just keep in mind, when you want something really bad, that sometimes there is negative consequences to taking what it is that you want. And realize sometimes when you see the negative element of something, that there is positive elements to it. There's a saying, if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you've always got. And I'm trying to get I am getting different results. And part of those different results are coming from evaluating situations and moving forward. Sometimes it's being in those situations, and then when it feels off to me, saying, nah, I don't want this. And it can be tricky, because sometimes when those situations occur, it's something you have to push through. And sometimes it's stuff you have to let go. Developing intuition and knowing yourself, it's not as cut and dry as people make it seem sometimes. I have faith that anybody that can will. And you technically, once you're on the right path, I feel that you will have a harder time getting off of that path than anything. Like, the current of your life is propelling you in the direction that you need to go. Once you get in the stream of being your higher self and get in that quote-unquote vortex, as some people call it. And the thing about it, if you think about a vortex, it's a swirling thing of energy. So it's going to pull you into it. And with that, I'm going to put this episode in the vortex of a pyre. And a link below is the key to all my other links. If you're listening to me on one of the various podcast platforms, you can watch videos of me on YouTube. And if you're watching me on YouTube, you can listen to me on various PodTrack platforms, With that, I love, respect, and appreciate all of you. Make today a magical day with the attitude of gratitude and a mentality of manifestation. Love and light. Namaste.